You are listening to the Horse Radio Network, part of the Equine Network family.
This is episode 233 of Horsemanship Radio, brought to you by HandsOnGloves.com, the all-in-one revolutionary bathing grooming gloves. Horsemanship Radio is part of the family of the Horse Radio Network, and today we have actress, we have Adam Black, who's a rock star, so we've got a lot of stars for you coming out, and the common denominator is that they love horses. This is Debbie Laux, and you're listening to the Horsemanship Radio. Thanks for joining us. Horsemanship Radio airs on the 1st and the 15th of the month, and I have my producer back with me, Jen. Hi, how are you?
We're back.
You are. I'm excited. How was your trip? Good?
Trip was great. We got to see lots and lots of fjords in Norway, and we wandered about Amsterdam in the Netherlands and had a lovely time, and now we're back and just making podcasts like crazy.
Yeah, I bet. And Glenn's coming out here in just a week or so he's going to continue the Scandinavian tour.
That's
true. Because we've got Solvang, the Danish
California.
Capital of America.
The Danish capital of America. That's right. And he's anticipating eating large amounts of baked goods.
Yes. Cookies, Abel Skeevers, those little pancakes.
You're making me hungry. You're making me hungry.
I know it's a bad time of the day to talk about these things. But I'm excited.
So everybody who's been living under a rock.
Yes.
The movement, which is a... Tell us the 30-second, what is the movement?
Oh, that's so hard. Okay, it's our 6th annual event. We call it really an experience, but the movement is built on the fact that Monty started 30 years ago a movement away from violence in training. And we also found that movement was essential, critical for both physical and mental health of horses. So everything that falls into that category, we aim to experience over the years, and we change it up every year.
Okay, so tell us some of the clinicians and or speakers and or folks that are going to be there for this one.
So fun. So for those people who love the gentling and the whole thing with the wild horse thing, we have right now on campus, we have 8 different Mustangs that have all kinds of 8 different stories. And so that's going to be part of it. For those people who love to see what we do with our off-the-track thoroughbreds and with horses in general, for the whole process of training the real green horse onto the ridden horse, we have that possibility too, with Jamie and Monty working in the round pen. So that's Jamie Jennings of Horses in the Morning, and also ASPCA's Trainer of the Year, of course. And she adopts out over 100 OTTPs a year. So this is expertise, not only with Monty, but also with Jamie. Then for those people who love rock star country and Western music from Nashville, we've got Jared Rogerson coming through on a tour right now, and he's going to be on Friday night. So if you like community, you love horsewomen loving horses, that's a big part of it. Oh, if you like wine and cheese, it's also a big part of it. And then on Saturday, there'll be some drinking. And then on Saturday, we've got more of the same. And we have, and Friday, we also have Will Friday of the Masterson Method. And Will Friday is just a knockoff of Masterson he tours with. And we'll have a Masterson clinic here in September too. So this will be like a taster, an hour with Will Friday, who's great. And we also have, if you're interested in either working equitation, which has the garrocha pole and the obstacles and a little combination of dressage and some Spanish-looking fun things that they do out there, that'll be fascinating. And then if you also love mountain trail riding, we have our obstacle course, our Mark Bolander obstacle course out here, has 22 obstacles. Some move, some don't. And we'll keep the horses guessing about that and keep them engaged. It's a lot of fun from the ground and in the saddle. How's that?
Tons of stuff going on. Tons of stuff. So if somebody wants to either get a ticket to participate, where do they go?
They go to MontyRoberts.com. When you go to Monty Roberts, Monty Roberts.com, you look across the top at the tabs and you see shop. And that's a good place to start. And then you go down to the bottom that says special events. And of course, we're a special event called The Movement. And click on there and the tickets are available. And we're trying to keep it intimate and small, but we're really knocking on the doors of the locals right now too, because we want them to see what we're doing here. People have come from all over the world and seek out Monty and what he's doing here in his concepts. But sometimes, you know how this is? You're never a king in your own kingdom. Sometimes people living next door think we're still just a thoroughbred starting facility and everything. And we're not. We've got tons of different kinds.
Yeah. Got all kinds of stuff there. Cool. So go to MontyRoberts.com, look for special events at the top. And our first guest on today's show, Beth Behrs. You may be familiar with a sitcom that was on for a number of years called Two Broke Girls.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite parts about Two Broke Girls was Chestnut. Chestnut was her horse. And it was very Mr. Ed-esque, the relationship. I used to love it because it kind of reminds me of the whole Mr. Ed thing where he'd hang his head over the doorway. And actress Beth Behrs from Two Broke Girls is going to be on the show today. And she's going to talk a little bit about Chestnut, how Chestnut got to be on the show, how Chestnut influenced her relationship with horses. And we're going to have Beth on right after we hear from our title sponsor, Hands On Gloves.
Our title sponsor, Hands On Gloves, who support us and are our reason for being here, actually have a little innovation that you were telling me about with Nigel.
Yes, Nigel. This was inspired. I was watching some of the videos over on the Hands On Gloves YouTube page.
That's cool. Yeah.
And it has great ideas for using your Hands On Gloves if you ever want to spend a little time on YouTube, and who doesn't want to do that? In the wintertime, Nigel does not get clipped because his hair coat doesn't really get very thick, and he lives out of doors. It's a very light winter coat, and that's a real struggle in the winter because you want to get deep down into the hair when you dry them off, because what can happen is you can get rain rot if the top of the hair dries before the skin does. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we've all used towels to dry our horses off. You swipe back and forth, but that's it. It doesn't get to the skin. It only dries the top.
It does.
So you take the old Hands-On Gloves, which you've got on anyway, because that's what you were using to scrub your horse.
You washed it with. Yeah, that's right.
Just grab a towel, toss it on your horse, and you dry the horse using your gloved hand. And those little bumples on the gloves get down between the hairs and dry the skin off. It's awesome.
It's awesome. And they love it. I mean, who doesn't like to be snuggled in a blankie?
If you give them a good once over with a towel and your Hands-On glove, then when you do throw the cooler over top, you've fluffed up all that hair.
Yes.
So that it can allow the moisture from the skin to come up through. If the hair's mushed down flat, it's going to do its job of keeping things just the way they are. So grab yourself a pair of Hands-On Gloves from HandsOnGloves.com or your local tack retailer. You can find them everywhere. They come in lots of different sizes and colors.
Yep.
And give it a try for yourself.
Beth Behrs spent her early years on the East Coast, first in Pennsylvania, then Virginia, before moving with her family at the age of 15 to Marin County, just outside of San Francisco, where she studied drama, both at the high school and the American Conservatory Theater in San Francisco. And then she appeared in a number of plays and studied drama at UCLA School of Theater, my alma mater, film and television. That's in Los Angeles. She had a few one-off parts, and then she landed her breakthrough role as Carolyn Channing in Two Broke Girls. Well, welcome, Beth Behrs. First time on Horsemanship Radio. I'm glad to have you. How are you?
I'm so excited to be here. I'm a big fan of this podcast and of all the work you do, Debbie. And I am just honored and kind of geeking out. I've done a lot of acting podcasts, but I've never gotten to be on a horse podcast, which is way cooler in my opinion.
Much more fun. It's much more fun. Well, I don't know what your other podcasts were, but we're going to have some fun talking horses. And I'm glad to get you diverted off, those boring things like Disney and TV shows and all that. But that aside, we all know where the heart lies, and it's with horses. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about today, too. I saw a little clip of Max and Chestnut saying goodbye, and it was a scene in Two Broke Girls, I think season 1. You guys look so young, too. I mean, you still look like you're 16, first of all.
Oh, my God. It's so long ago in my head. I'm like, oh, my gosh.
I bet this history just whizzes by. And you just had a baby this last year. Oh, first, before we talk horses, because it's so new in your family, tell me how it is to have a new baby in the house.
Well, it's amazing. We really went through the ringer to get her here. And so it's just the biggest blessing in our lives. Her name's Emma George. She's turning 1 tomorrow, which is
happy birthday,
crazy.
Emma George.
And when she was, I think, 4 days old or 3 days old was her first time ever meeting our horses. We took her right away. And she was, sitting on them by the time she could sit up. And we're both such lovers of nature and horses. And we've already started sort of instilling it in her. And she tends to sit on the horse and do the hips to go faster and faster.
Yeah.
Now she learned what a trot is. So I think we've got either maybe a little daredevil cowgirl going, but there's a lot of parallels between motherhood and horsemanship, I'm realizing.
Is that right?
I'm starting to have a toddler. Yeah.
I love that. Tell me.
Gentle horsemanship and gentle parenting, giving choices, staying grounded and present and non-reactive. Those sorts of, gentle horsemanship techniques have really, I feel like, come into play for both me and my husband, Michael, in our parenting strategies now that she's about to be 1 and has definitely started to assert herself, and her personality is very strong-willed. So
it's funny too, right? I mean, you do have to stay in the lead. It's the only thing I can think of. We always say with horses, he who moves the feet, is the leader or wins.
The leader. Yes,
absolutely. And it is that way with kids. You have to be a benevolent dictator is what it is.
Yes, right. Absolutely.
I love that, though, that you compare parenthood to taking care of our horses, because it is one of those jobs for life. We have the horse for as long as we possibly can. And so tell us about your horses.
Oh, gosh. So, well, like we were saying before, I always grew up reading all the Saddle Club books, and I read Misty of Chincoteague, and my grandparents took me to see the wild horses on Chincoteague Island, and I have photos of that, and it's a very vivid memory. So I know I always loved horses, but it wasn't until the pilot of Two Broke Girls, I don't know if people remember, but at the end of the pilot, me and Kat Dennings, who played Max, we sit on my character's horse. And it was my first time really ever riding a horse. And I was at first really scared because you're in a set with a lot of people and cameras, and it was a big thoroughbred, chestnut. Yeah. And I was really nervous, but it, as the years went on, working with the horse every day on set and getting to know the horse trainer, I would start going and hanging out with the horse who played Chestnut on the show. That we had two. Rocky passed away, but he was with us for the first 3 years, and I would go ride on the weekends, and I noticed my anxiety was so much less when the horse was around on set. And so I discovered equine therapy. Actually, one of the co-creators of Two Broke Girls, Whitney Cummings, introduced me to an equine therapist named Cassandra Ogier, and I started going, and within a month of working with her, I decided I wanted to rescue a horse after knowing nothing, really, other than that my heart was fully taken by them. And I talked to the ASPCA and rescued my horse, Belle, from Blue Apple Ranch down in San Diego, which is a great horse rescue. And she's my soulmate. I always say who rescued who, because I feel like my entire life changed with her. So I have her. She's a paint mare. She's half BLM. We don't know much other than she was rescued from a domestic violence situation with her mother on Christmas. Her mom's name is Jingle, and her name is Belle. So her mother had the BLM brand. So we think half quarter, half Mustang, and she's hilarious and silly and wonderful. And then my husband, a couple of years ago, rescued a Percheron mare named Rosie, who is like Lord of the Rings, should be in a movie star horse. So beautiful.
Huge and beautiful and black.
Yes. So those are two. And then I recently actually sold a pony with my dear friend Sarah Maslin and Jessie Lochrie that we trained. Her name was Gigi, and I miss her, but she's living her best life with her new little girl owner in Pennsylvania. So
perfect.
Yeah, those are sort of the horses that I've owned in my life and that I still own. And that are the best parts of my life.
Yeah, the best parts of your life. That's so cool. And I love that you're still educating yourself on horses too. So I don't know if that was the beginning of your blossoming of education or if this has sort of been a process your whole life. But I'm so glad that you came up for the Horsemanship 101 with Sarah and Jessie that you just mentioned too. And tell me about that. Tell me what motivated you guys. And maybe it was a girlfriend's weekend and that was it. But
that was definitely part of it. But really, it was Horsemanship 101 and Monty. So your beautiful, lovely father. We both, well, all of us, and me included, when I first got into horsemanship, I learned bareback bitless on the ground first and completely would hop on and go on trails in Topanga without knowing nothing. And
You're
that
crazy.
was a spooky rescue I would fall off of many a weekend, and I realized, I'm a physical comedian actress. Maybe I should start to learn a little bit more as opposed to just hopping on.
Slapstick.
But I really liked that I had sort of the beginnings of a relationship that was completely gentle and mostly on the ground and groundwork. And so I'd always read about Monty. I read his books. I knew everything about join up that I could from the education you guys have available, which is wonderful. But to meet him was a bucket list dream of mine. And I told Sarah, our dear friend Sarah, that, and she reached out to you and said, we want to come. And then we got to spend that weekend with you guys learning. I learned so much at Horsemanship 101. Oh my gosh. And just so much about life, like we talked about. I just feel like there's just so many parallels, even just doing a join up. And I think that's why, I know you guys also do join up as part of equine therapy programs, but there's so much to learn about grounding and being in our bodies and connecting with these incredible beings who live in the present moment because of their prey animals, and they have to survive. And I just love the parallels between the horse and human healing relationship. And obviously Monty's nonviolent, groundbreaking approach, learning from the master himself was bucket list for me.
That's awesome. Well, I'm so glad that Sarah mentioned that too, because, she did write about the baby deer benediction in her book, Horse Crazy. And she didn't set out to do that, which was kind of fun. And we have her in a podcast that people can do a little search on and find that story because it's wonderful. But she set out to just, ask Monty about horses and ended up with a whole chapter in her book about a deer, which is kind of cute.
My favorite chapter in her book, which is just so beautiful.
It's nice. Well, the flight animal and pain, it never ceases to amaze me that people would think that that's actually a way to be successful. It doesn't work. And so I'm sure people are coming around to it. It's like Temple Grandin told us one. She said, well, it starts off as, that's not true. And then it morphs into another decade down the road or whatever, it morphs into, everybody kind of knows that. And then it's finally, I've always done it that way. What are you thinking?
That is absolutely the trajectory.
Kind of true.
That's
right?
a beautiful way of explaining it. Yeah.
And I think that's what we'll eventually come to. And that's what Dad works on for that critical mass. But you've been a big part of, you have a platform, Beth, and that's really a cool thing to have. Just like Sarah has writing and books, you have a medium that probably is even more pervasive than that. It's powerful. And I love that in that episode, Max character gets therapy from Chestnut, but you guys say it out loud. And it's pretty cool. Did you have anything to do with that, or did that just come from the wonderful script writers, or?
I wish I had something to do with that. That was the beginning of my journey with horses too. No, that was in the script. And probably Whitney Cummings, who I mentioned, who's a co-creator of the show, she grew up a horse girl and still is a horse girl. We have horses at the same barn and is very much into the healing element of horses as well. So to have a platform to be able to even, help post about a rescue horse that needs help or fundraising. I'm just so grateful that I have that platform and that opportunity. And I have, the goal of being a wonderful mother and an actor, but I really also have this goal of wanting to be a wonderful horsewoman. And so I really feel like as I enter my late 30s and into like this next chapter of my life, I think that the best thing I can do for my daughter and my family and for my acting is to become a better horsewoman.
Makes you
because
real.
I feel like it makes you, it makes you a better person.
That's
so many
nice.
ways.
Yeah, in so many ways. And the physiology too. I mean, you and I were talking about the breathing and how much it does, not just, mentally, everybody knows that just being around, a hugger, and the horses really are kind of a huggers, is wonderful. But there's something about the flight animal that is super precious, that even more than a carnivore, a dog, they just don't have to fake it. Horses don't have to fake it at all. And I love that. We got you out. We did obstacles first in the arena, which was really fun, in the covered arena. You did so good. You're so tiny.
Thank you.
And you had some big off the track thoroughbreds for you. Probably, I don't know, 16 hands or so we had over there.
That was my first time working with a thoroughbred, because I've worked with obviously our Percherons and a lot of quarter horses at the barn where I am, but I had never experienced the go and the strength of an off the track thoroughbred. I mean, obviously it makes sense off the track. They're strong animals, but that was really empowering for me to be able to connect with a horse that strong.
Big. Yeah. And then you brave soul. We won't tell your husband or your daughter in the future, but you went out to the mountain trail and did a little dancing around there too, didn't you?
I did, and I still have the boots that are covered in the water that I walked in to show the horse that the water wouldn't scare him, that it was safe. Because I'm like, if I am going to tell him it's safe, I got to prove to him that it really is. So I know the other day I was like, what's that smell in my car? Like, I've opened the window, and then I realized, oh my gosh, I keep barn boots, obviously, in the back of my trunk, like most people do. But my boots had definitely not dried out fully. So now the smell is gone, thank goodness, and they are fully dry in the sun. And I can put them back in my car. But
because most husbands think we're crazy when we put, saddle pads in the back seat or whatever. And I love that. And they go, ooh, what? But
they hate it. I know. I love the smell. I always say, I know there's candles out there, but I don't think anyone's done it yet, of like the smell when you get to the barn. I wish I could just have my whole house smell like that.
That's so true. There are people, I have a story, and I won't go into it, but it is a true story of a little girl that had an illness and they didn't know if she was going to make it. And her last wish was to be taken in a stretcher kind of a situation out to the barn so she could just be in that environment. Guess what? She lived. So it must,
oh my God, I believe it. Yeah. Yes, it does. It does something like you were saying to our nervous system. It's effortlessly.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So in the future, I know that you give and give and give, and you are a very busy lady, and it's a lot to ask. But is there a future to help horses more? Is there ideas that you have? Is there anything I can action that would help horses?
Absolutely. Well, I started a program with my little sister. Is a survivor of sexual assault, and traditional talk therapy wasn't necessarily helping her. And when I started working with equine therapy and my rescue horse, I realized how effortlessly it helped my anxiety without even having to talk about my anxiety attacks or my panic attacks, with just, like we were just saying, just being with the horses. And so I introduced her to equine therapy, and she fell madly in love with a horse named Chief and had a pretty incredible life-changing experience. And so she and I started a program called She Heard Power for assault survivors and equine therapy. And we had an amazing program and a beautiful, amazing nonprofit that we were umbrellaing under for that work. But then people moved away and we lost our location, and my little sister ended up going to get her master's, and now she's a full-on therapist. So It's incredible. But we look to someday continue the work. And just, I'm an advocate for other organizations. It would be cool to have another program someday, but really all I'm advocating for is just the healing power of horses. I know you guys have amazing healing programs as part of your
Thank you.
work, which I am so happy to sing to the rooftops that people support and check out. And because it works with veterans, I've seen it work with, obviously, firsthand with sexual assault survivors, but children with autism. My husband does a lot of volunteering with children with autism and equine therapy these days. And I just believe in all of it. And I'd love to have my hand in helping as much as I can in that way. And hopefully someday doing it again, like
so
with young women.
Yes, with young women. I think that's amazing too, because there are some programs out there, but it gets very regional. And so there's room for lots of programs. People can't always travel. We found that with our veterans program, Horsemanship and Healing, is, okay, it's great on the Central Coast, but what about all those guys in Arizona and Pennsylvania?
Right.
There's a lot out there. And I honestly think there's enough horses out there too. So we've got to divide and conquer, multiply, all those things too, with people who really keep people safe and know what they're doing.
Absolutely.
Come take classes here, get certified, and you'll be able to keep people safe. But you got to have a heart for this thing too. It's just not a job. It is something that I know you, Beth, believe in deeply. And I honestly think it's great for horses as a vocation, for them to do something. They're young and healthy, and let's put them to work healing people. It'd be
Absolutely,
nice.
because when we serve and heal others, it as humans, it heals us. So I can imagine for the horses, there has to be the same element of healing, or I believe that there has to be the same element of healing for them as well. And
I think
knowing the impact they're making, you can see it. I mean, my sister still keeps a photo of Chief, that horse, and I'll just never forget, she was crying, and they had her draw a circle around herself because she was very scared of him. He was a very, very big paint horse. And they were like, until you're ready to invite him in, don't invite him in. And he just stood with his hooves on the circle she created for herself until she invited him in. And as soon as she invited him in, the entire equine therapy group was just bawling, because he just was I know. I cry every time I think about it. And you could just tell he said, "Oh, thank you. I'm going to heal," and he's with her always, even though obviously we don't own him or live with him, but just that experience alone. And that was one time. So I do believe it can happen in a one-day workshop at Monty Roberts or at, wherever people offer these workshops with horses.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for saying that. Thanks for sharing that. And I know you're in a new show now called The Neighborhood. So give us where do we find you? Where can we watch you?
Yes. So I'm on a show also on CBS, like Two Broke Girls was, called The Neighborhood. It's Mondays at 8 p.m. on CBS, or it's on Paramount Plus, or now it's actually syndicated. We're going into our sixth season. Yes. So you can watch it, I think, on like your local stations and some cable stations. I think MTV, BET, some of those stations. So check it out, The Neighborhood.
Great. Thank you for that. And you're going to have a horse on it soon? Ever?
I know. I've been trying. I've been telling the writers, because it was such an iconic part of Two Broke Girls. So I'm playing a much different character. So we'd have to figure out how to make it not seem too much. But I think hopefully this year, I literally say it all the time. Can we please get a mini horse or a horse or something?
I have one. You can use Poppy anytime.
I can use, Poppy. Oh my gosh. I know. That would
unicorn.
be my,
She's probably not real looking enough. She's
oh no, I want her. I know. We should have a visit. We should have the cast. I would love for a lot of the people on my show have never been around horses, but are really interested in it. And so Sarah actually was like, you should have your cast come do a workshop at Monty out at Flag is Up, because it would be amazing and it'd be so much fun for them too.
Yeah, anybody who's intimidated cannot be intimidated by Poppy. You cannot.
Exactly. Yes.
She's so tiny. But maybe there'll be some brave ones too, and they'll want to work with them.
I know. And Shy Boy's still there, which is so incredible for me to meet.
Yeah, people got to come visit him now. He's 30 and he's a Mustang off the BLM Tonopah, Nevada plains. So hurry. Yeah, as we speak, he is doing great. Yes. So come see him. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Beth Behrs, for being on
Horsemanship Radio. Oh my gosh, what an honor. I'm so honored. This is the best bucket list I get to be on Horsemanship Radio. Next up, the Oscars.
Yes. I vote. You're in.
Thank you, Debbie.
A must-see lesson series in the MontyRobertsUniversity.com is about a skilled young trainer who works with LAS, an OTTB in the round pen, that's an off-the-track thoroughbred, to assess her for potential for retraining and adoption. The first step Monty uses in this process is join-up. Join-up establishes trust through communication and allows us to observe the horse's level of soundness, sensitivity, and athleticism. It'd be wonderful if there was a way to briefly describe Monty's work and how the concepts affect the horses. Like so many things in life, it's far more complicated than that. The concepts are linked to body language, which is understood by the horse and found to be without negative consequence. The flight animal needs to be safe. Therefore, the human needs to deeply study the body language used during the process of training. The horse needs to feel a zone of comfort and acceptance from the human so as to find enjoyment in completing the actions requested by the human. Go to MontyRobertsUniversity.com and use the promo code DAYPASS to check it out. That's MontyRobertsUniversity.com. Adam Black of Adam Black Horsemanship was introduced to horses as a child by his grandpa, Dale Williams. His first horse was a 17-hand-high Bay Belgian cross mare out of a slaughter pen. Adam took top 10 finish of the 2015 Ohio Equine Fair, and after that, he promptly went to college to become a veterinary technician. When he ended up winning the Ohio's Dirt Road to the Horse, Adam was hooked on riding, though. He became a trainer. Well, welcome back, Adam Black. I'm so happy to have you back. You've been on before with this Appalachian Trainer Face Off. How is it happening for you this year, this ATFO?
So this will be my, I believe, 7th year for the Appalachian Trainer Face Off. So super excited about that. I've been involved with it since the beginning. So it's very awesome to see it grow from just a small little, I think there were 7 competitors in the beginning up now. they've had upwards to 60 people in it. So it's super great. It's a great mission for the horses, great mission for the rescue, and it helps the trainers, helps the horses. Everybody comes out winners at the end of it. So I think it's a great platform to kind of promote yourself as a trainer and to help these horses get home. So all in all, I just love it.
Yeah, you've been in there at the beginning of it, really the formation of it. And we were talking about how successful it has become and become actually a model for other, hopefully, you kind of wanted to be a mentor to these other, I guess we call them adoption centers or sanctuaries or other people that are trying to help rescue these horses. In that area, you do have what I truly believe is more of a rescue situation. Sometimes we have these adoption centers who take, let's say, off the track thoroughbreds, and they don't look like rescues, really. They're healthy and big and strong, but you guys do have some challenges with them. Is there some, minimum health standards before they jump in there with the challenges before a trainer gets to working with them?
Yeah, I mean, they're all vet checked, so they're all cleared by a vet to actually say if they're able to do this competition. The ages, they keep them kind of in a variety of anywhere between 3 and 15. So it does allow a lot of, horses to be involved. But as long as they pass a vet check as well as they can, as far as just physically watching them move and things like that, of course, things may pop up, but they definitely give like every horse a chance to go through this Appalachian Trainer Face Off to hopefully, bring out the best in every horse. Some might not be the best candidate for cantering all day, but, they could do like trail riding or something. So they're just trying to like give all these horses a fair chance. Horses that maybe somebody has given up on at some point in their life for whatever reason, behavioral reason, physical limitation, or something like that. So, and that's the biggest thing I've noticed with the Heart of Phoenix is, they're going to put the effort into helping these horses, whatever it's going to take.
Yeah, this is where we should mention Tenia and Susanna, and in earlier episodes, we've had the Heart of Phoenix management on, some of those really principal foundational people, but you're definitely one of them too, because you really took it to the trainer level in a very creative way, which created the Face Off, and you won the first one. We've mentioned that before in interviews, and you even judged it at some points. What are you doing this year?
So I'm back as a competitor, and I have been for the last 4 years or so. And that's where I really like that. Not as far as the competition side of it, but taking a horse that has zero training or even zero handling or never even been touched before and devoting 100+ days to this horse and hope that it will land somewhere or, just prepare it enough for the next step for somebody to take it a little bit further than what I can do in just 100 days. Because that's a drop of in the bucket of the education of the horse. It's very, very minimal, but to get these horses kind of jump started and head in the right direction, that's kind of the cool part. And then, the actual competition is just kind of icing on the cake. If you can do well enough, to do well in that, but ultimately it's, for the benefit of the horses is why I keep coming back every year for it.
That's nice. And you've got so many breeds represented, and we've talked about that before too, which is really cool. But tell me I know that you spent time out here now. You've taken some months to come out to California, train under Dad's concepts, Monty Roberts' concepts. Tell me how that factors into some of your training with your horse.
Yeah. So every year I try to, I guess maybe not try to, I usually end up with a very feral horse for the competition. Some of them have had maybe a halter placed on them that were in a chute or something like that. But beyond that, that's about the most handling they've gotten. So just from going out to Flag Is Up Farm and watching Monty work with, the bucking horses and the Mustangs that they have there really has helped me bring back to Ohio the same concepts to use on these feral mine horses. As far as, they're not as Mustangy as the true Mustangs, but there is a multi-generational feral. So a lot of them have never seen what a person is or anything like that. So, I mean, at the end of the day, a horse is a horse, and, we can communicate with them the same as every other horse. So it is real nice to come back with a few more tools in my pocket to kind of maybe make my process a little easier to kind of deal with these ultra feral horses. And maybe if I've gotten stuck before, now I've got something else to kind of maybe try a different approach to it, to kind of help with all that. So it's been super nice to kind of like now come back here and actually put it to my own work. And it's been pretty cool to watch.
I'm glad. And I love that you said a horse is a horse. People are starting to get onto that, but so much in the equestrian world has been about, this is a Oldenburg, and so it only and they do put limits on horses. I realize there's limitations by physicality and breeding and all that, but a horse is a horse. So what does that mean to you in training? What are some of the things that you use in the feral situation? Besides, like, say, I don't know if you use a system of chutes or to get those first touches on, or does it mean, like, I think we talked about in the last interview that you learned about into pressure. What else have you taken forward?
So here at my place, I don't have yet the kind of the system that you guys have out in California at the farm there. So I just have a 12x12 stall, and it's a lot of the same concepts, but it's more like the pressure release. Obviously, we don't have the physical restraints of the chute to kind of get those first touches. So it takes a little longer. Kind of have to do a little bit of a dance for a minute to try to just get them comfortable with your presence. And then I just kind of inch a little closer until I can kind of approach and get maybe that first rub on the shoulder or somewhere like that, just quick and easy and out. And then just keep building on that. That's the easiest. That's the safest for me, safest for the horse. Takes a little bit more skill of actually reading the horse and knowing, like, well, that might be a little too much. You might get this. And we don't have the restraints of something to really keep us safe or the horse safe. So it's a little bit of that dance for a little while. But really, the same kind of concept can be applied in any situation. I've had to kind of approach these horses in maybe a round pen where you don't have a corner or a wall or safety for them to kind of feel comfortable. And that takes a little bit longer. And then that's where I've kind of used a little bit of the join up process in the beginning to kind of get that, okay, this creature, meaning me, is not a threat. So now I can maybe hang out a little closer for a little longer and then work on it that way. So it's again, the concepts are there. It's just kind of how you apply them that I feel like you can kind of get the job done.
Yeah, there's that pressure and release, which a lot of people understand pressure and release. They don't have the timing perfectly until they, or become really professional at it, like you are, professional trainer. But continuing on that conversation too, it reminded me that sometimes people will see a little snapshot, a photo of a horse in a chute and think, oh, that's really unfair. What do you say to those people about what's going on there?
So, I mean, I guess when I first kind of saw that, I thought, well, that's kind of pretty restrictive as far as, the horse really has no say. But for the short period of time that they kind of get that little bit of stress or worry that you kind of get in and get out, if you've got that good timing, that can build that confidence in that horse so much faster than kind of the constant, pressure that we're trying to do when the horse can get away a little bit more. So at first I was kind of like, oh, that's kind of forcing, but really you get that first, 2, 3, 4 touches in and rubbing, and then they start to say, okay, I'm still alive. Nothing bad happened. Yeah. And then you can progress so much faster. And it really does keep the horse safe. It keeps us in a safe place, and then you can progress so much faster because when, we're out there in California, I mean, it was 2 or 3 days and we didn't need the chutes anymore. And the horse was, we could halter and we could walk around and continue on that. So I think it's in the right hands. It's a great concept for somebody to pick up on and a good design for somebody to work with.
Yeah, it's the ideal. I think at least state of the art. We can always improve, but it has been a godsend, frankly, for these untutored horses. And we have people that come in, certified instructors that come in from other parts of the world just to work with the wild ones because, Manjeev from India, they don't have feral horses. They're born in a stall or stable, and they literally always see people and trust people. So they want these people, students crave this ability to work in the pure equus setting where they get to express themselves purely. Have we talked about breathing them into the chutes? Have we talked about that before?
I can't remember if we have, but definitely have done that quite a bit when I was out there in California.
What does that look like? Yeah, what does that look like?
So, I mean, they can kind of pick up on our breathing. And if we watch horses, how they breathe and exhale and hold air, and when they're intense, and then they, give a big sigh and they lick and chew, if we can kind of start to mimic that, we can kind of make that experience much better for them. As far as we'll breathe kind of super, super rapid and super quick outside of the chute. And when they go in, then we can release that air and kind of give them that signal of that's a safe place. That's where you kind of want to be. That's where the release of pressure. That's where, you can take a break and start to process things. And then as they come out, you just do the reverse, kind of make that a little bit more uncomfortable out there, and then a little more comfortable in where you want them. And it's kind of wild how fast they pick up on that, like 4 or 5 rotations in there, and the horses are just now then starting to seek that out. So, and that concept I've used elsewhere too, as far as, in a round pen or where a horse is kind of doesn't want to be because there's some other stimulus out there. You can kind of start to talk to them and say that you may be uncomfortable in there, but that is a safe place to be. So, yeah.
I think that's all they're seeking is a safe place. And their flight mechanism says away from you. Yeah. But once they find a safe place, or they trust us, they believe us that we are a safe place, or our hands are going to be okay when we go in there. They found it. Eureka. They found it.
Right.
And they're so smart. These are survivors, oftentimes either BLM, Bureau of Land Management, adopted Mustangs. That is exactly. And people say, how does it go so fast that way? And it's so obvious that that's what they're seeking is safety. And they've never seen people. So how are they supposed to interpret us? Right?
Exactly.
We're carnivores.
Right.
They know that.
Sure.
So.
Yeah. And their eyes. Yeah. If you were not a very smart horse, you did not survive out there. So, over years, they have figured out how to get a little smarter both ways. They can outwit us, but, we can also, if we're paying attention, we can communicate pretty fast to them.
Right. Exactly. Well, you're very good. Your metabolic is very low. You're very good with horses, and you keep your adrenaline down, and very kind, and make gentle sounds to them. So, hey, no wonder they love you, Adam Black. It makes good sense to me. Well, good luck to you. So tell us a little bit about your horse that's in this year.
Yeah. So this year he's an 11-year-old, what they call an Appalachian Brumby, which is kind of a multi-generational mind horse. 10 years ago or so, these horses were turned out, kind of reproducing, kind of feral. Some come from domestic stock that were turned out. So he's 11 years old. He's kind of like a champagne-y palomino. He's got a nice, kind of shimmer coat to him. He's kind of wild in that part. But he's probably the most feral that I've had to deal with in a while, at least for this competition, and the one that's had the most, I guess, maybe concern and aggression towards people. He's more of I will stand my ground and fight versus the flight, I need to get out of here. So he's kind of been a little bit more of a challenge for me as far as getting along with him and trying to figure out what works with him, what doesn't work, how much pressure to put, and the timing's got to be super, super accurate on him, because I think you could take advantage of that fairly quickly. But we're kind of over that hump now. We got him to where he's leading around. I've got a saddle on him, doing some long lining, desensitizing. So he's starting to turn the page and realizing that, we're okay. He may be not as convinced that we're 100% okay, but we're starting to get to, chipping away at him. But
I have a question about that too. And that is such an interesting and probably unique to the horse and you, but when you have a horse that could go aggressive a little bit, just because it's almost like, hey, I've had too much human today, I just don't want to see you. Right? They get a little, it's not you personally, but they put humans in the basket. So there you go.
Right.
But when do you know to push through that a little bit and get more time with them? Or when do you know to, what, today is not the day?
Sure. I try to think of let's not discipline the bad, but encourage the good. Mm-hmm. So if he kind of comes out to be, I can tell he's a little bit more standoffish and a little bit more, maybe wants to pick a fight for that day in some capacity, then I won't kind of keep pushing that. I'll just kind of start rewarding more of the behavior that I want. It could be totally different from what I was expecting. It could just be encourage him just to stop and look at me rather than, wanting to turn his butt towards me or something like that. But it's a very fine line that you kind of tiptoe back and forth. And there'll be times that I'll just do a short 10-minute session and be like, okay, I may have lost the war today, but maybe I won the battle, and I'll revisit it again and later in the day, and just give him a little mental break to say, okay, let him kind of reset and me reset, rethink, and, go do something else and come back to that. And a lot of times that will kind of help, I feel like, help them as well, rather than kind of keep poking the thorn that might be, you might enter something that you don't want to have to deal with. So let's not get to that point. But, and that's just kind of been years of experience in working with some of these horses and knowing okay, I pushed the boundary too much, and now it's going to be a little harder, just kind of, make amends and go back. So I try not to get to that point, and giving as many breaks and letting them realize hey, we're not as bad as what they think they are. They are. It's a better thing to do.
That's cool. Okay. That's good. Well, we've got some pretty feral ones here right now. So we'll take your tips to heart and use it with these we have some Gruyere fillies from Mountaintop, and we've got some more coming in. We've got a gentling wild horse course coming up June 5 through 9. We're really excited to see what they have in store for us because it's a couple of different places that we're sourcing them from. But anyway, and good luck to you. And you're amazing. And whoever gets your horse is going to be like so fortunate. And I hope that they're as kind and gentle and as progressive as you are with all your talents and abilities. So we'll be rooting for you.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. And where do people find out about the Face Off?
So you can go onto Facebook, Appalachian Trainer Face Off, or the Heart of Phoenix Equine Rescue. Either one will kind of take you to where you need to see. And then you can follow all the other trainers. I think there's roughly 15 to 20 trainers this year, and they can follow with the hashtag HOP team, whatever the horse's name is, and they can follow the whole summer as far as what everybody's doing with their horses and the progress of all that. So I encourage everybody to go check it out.
Okay. Heart of Phoenix, Adam Black Horsemanship. Go find him on all the social medias and especially the websites where you'll learn a ton because Heart of Phoenix is an education system there. Susanna and Tinia and the whole crew are great educators. And obviously they've got Adam Black on the team. So, he's gone extraordinary on the training side. So it's really fun. Thanks for joining us today, Adam, on Horsemanship Radio.
Thanks for having me.
Whisper the language of the herd. Listen, you don't have to say a word.
It's time for Jamie Jennings to fetch an email from Monty Roberts' inbox and share a morsel of Monty's wisdom in a little segment we like to call Ask Monty.
Leave this world a better place and learn the magic in the language of the herd.
Dear Monty, I have a horse that is one-sided. He is perfectly fine to handle on one side, but I can do nothing with him on the other. What do I do? Monty's answer. This one-sidedness can result from either of two opposite causes. It could be that the horse has been handled virtually entirely on the good side, ignoring the opposite side, or it could be that the horse has been abused on the bad side. No matter which is the case, the process to correct it is virtually the same. I suggest that you do use join up. I recommend 3 or 4 sessions on consecutive days or until your horse is relaxed, following you and perfectly comfortable being with you. Having accomplished a good join up or even 2, I would add to that 2 or 3 sessions with the dually halter. I would then begin to work on the bad side with an artificial arm. The artificial arm will allow you to work effectively with your adrenaline down. Gradually gain the trust of your horse, and this problem will go away. I make an artificial arm often using a hardwood cane with the figure 7 variety. That means that there is almost no crook in the handle. I wrap it in a sponge and tape the sponge in place, and with the whole cane covered in sponge, a glove can be placed over the figure 7. You can stuff the glove with bits of cloth to fill it out and make it hand-like. The top of the 7 goes in the thumb, making the finger soft and the thumb stiff. Having taped the glove in place, I recommend that one put a sleeve from an old sweatshirt or some such piece of clothing over the handle of the cane. Most canes are a bit short, so I extend them by tightly wiring on a couple of feet of discarded wooden rake handle. This instrument will enable you to keep out of the danger zone while working to rub, scratch, or even lift a hind leg using the figure 7 cane, allowing you to relax in the certain knowledge that you are safe. Once the horse allows the artificial arm to rub him all over on the bad side, then the handler can add to the degree of difficulty. A tiny little plastic bag will seem like a lethal weapon to a horse such as you have described. A good job of working with this small plastic bag will soon set up your horse so that you can have half a dozen big plastic bags on the artificial arm and rub him generously with them. All the time this work is being done, a good horse person will be thinking of encouraging the horse to understand that this side of his body can be touched without force or pain. If his fear is simply inherent and not the result of harsh treatment, the system I have outlined here will be just as effective.
For more of these insights into good horsemanship, go to MontyRoberts.com and click on the words Ask Monty at the bottom of the page.
What in the wide, wide world of sports is going on here?
Where in the world is Monty Roberts?
Monty is looking forward to meeting some new friends, two-legged and four-legged, in June. Here we have, starting tomorrow as we speak, June 16th through 18th is the Movement 2023. Then in July, we have the 8th of July, that's the Mountain Trail Play Day. And then the 10th through the 14th is the Monty's Special Training, second one this year. And then on July 15, we have Horsemanship 101. That's the one with Beth Behrs, and we had a whole full class of people that came to. It's a great girlfriends weekend. So we had Sarah, Jessie, all kinds of things. And then July 31 through August 4, we have the Gentling Wild Horse course. There's one going on right now as we speak. This will be another one with a whole nother set of horses, and that's 5 days long. And then August 5th, we have the Mountain Trail Play Day. And then August 7th through 19th, most of August, is the introductory course of horsemanship. And that's where you start with the first steps to Monty's methods. Then you go into join up, then you go into long lining. And then the last part is the preparation for the intro exams. It ends on the 19th. So join us there.
And as if that wasn't enough, if you couldn't put that all to memory, which I certainly can't, you can find all of that and more at MontyRoberts.com. Is there a button specifically for calendar on MontyRoberts.com? Where's the best place to go to get that?
The best place to go is, it says learning. Let's see, Learning Center. And the drop down is Monty Roberts courses calendar. So there you are in the calendar. Certified instructors, international courses, becoming an instructor. Everything's under the Learning Center for that.
The Learning Center. So when you go to MontyRoberts.com, hover over or click on the Learning Center and the calendar will be on there. And then it's subdivided into different types of calendars. Mm-hmm. Or you can call a person and talk to a real live human being at MontyRoberts.com or at Flag Is Up Farms. The phone number there is 805-688-6288. Or you go to MontyRoberts.com and the phone number is there. It's easy. They try to keep it straightforward at Monty Roberts.
We're simple people.
No, I wouldn't go quite that far, but you do try to keep it straightforward.
We do.
Yes, don't overcomplicate it when you don't need to.
Please keep it simple, silly.
There you go. And for details about today's show, you can find that at horsemanshipradio.com and also at montyroberts.com. The podcasts are all there. So what you can do is you go to your computer and you put on your favorites or a shortcut to montyroberts.com, because that way you can find the Learning Center, the university, the calendar, the podcast, all there, horsemanshipradio.com or montyroberts.com for information about the topics and guests. We love your feedback. Great place to give that to us is on social media. On Facebook, it's Monty Roberts, the one with the little blue check mark. On Twitter and Instagram, it's Monty_Roberts.
That's it. And many thanks to our sponsors. Hey, Jay Michelson from HandsOnGloves. Thank you for all of you that are coming to the movement. We're getting a pair of gloves, hands-on gloves from Jay Michelson, and he's sending bags over so we can put yours in a bag. And I am so happy that we have very streamlined horses around here from all our hands-on gloves. They're they're shedding out and looking beautiful. So be sure to visit the other great shows too on Horse Radio Network, and that's at horseradionetwork.com. Until next time, have many happy horse hours.